everyone. Welcome to Chai and Book Girl. My name is Amanda. It is the end of a month, so you know what that means. We need to do a reading wrap up. For June, I read 23 books. It was a good reading month for me. I had 4 DNFs that are not included in that 23 books, and I had 5 5-star reads, if you can believe it. It was a great reading month for me. So let's get into it. I got my glasses on because I can't see a dang thing. And I'm just going to start off by going through the prompts that I had for my June TBR jar pull. And then I'll talk about those books. And then I will go through my DNFs, the books that I didn't finish. And we're not counting those since I didn't actually finish reading them. And then we'll just kind of go in the order that I read them. And then at the end, we will do my 5-star reads. And yeah, I think that's how we'll do it. So let's start off with the jar prompts for June. So the first one I had was a Kindle Unlimited book that was just a thriller. And the one that I chose was Neon Moon by Grace Reynolds. This one was actually one of my 4 DNFs. So this is about a saloon in Texas, and it's kind of out of the way in the middle of nowhere. There's a very small little town that the saloon is in, and one busy evening the saloon's packed and the bartender Darlene is trying to keep everybody happy by slinging drinks, and there is an axe murderer that comes into this small town and is supposedly supposed to be killing people. However, I got 55% of the way through this book, and we didn't even really see a whole lot of the axe murderer. I don't know where he was. We saw a few little teeny glimpses of him. I'm not saying that he wasn't killing people. I think he killed 2 people in the 55% that I was in. Keep in mind that this book is, I think, 128 pages, so it's not long at all. It's almost a novella, kind of. And so to be 55% of the way through the book and there's only 2 kills and very few and far between glimpses of this axe murderer, I didn't care really about what was happening at all. It was a whole lot of flowery language. It was so much flowery language. Oh my gosh, I can't say that. That I had to double check that the author was actually talking about Texas. I was like, wait, aren't we in Texas? This is kind of weird to be describing things in this deserty, tumbleweed, middle of nowhere, cowboy. I feel like it shouldn't be this flowery. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it was a lot of backstory for Darlene. It was a lot of kind of emotional, building up of the character that I didn't really care to know. I just wanted the axe murderer to come through and all of, Darlene and all of the patrons of the saloon to fight back. And I wanted there to be this clash of good and evil, and just nothing was happening. So yeah, I DNF'd it at 55%. So that one was kind of a bust. Okay, so then I have a Kindle Unlimited book, a book featuring your favorite trope. So this one, I actually did a book recommendation by my bestest bookie friend, Justine. She recommended Lords of Pain, Royals of Forsyth University, book number 1. So she recommended this to me. The authors are Angel Lawson and Samantha Rue. I really enjoyed this book. It's the trope that we're talking about is the kind of bullying trope. This is kind of a college football secret society type thing. And we have our female main character. She's running from her past. She's running from a stalker. There's a lot of things going on in her life that she can't control. And so she ends up at this university and applying to be a lady to the Lords. The Lords being the society, this frat society, and she has to sign these contracts. There's all kinds of rules, and they're not very nice. They're Lords, and they live up to their name, and I really liked this book. Please read your trigger warnings on this one though, because there are a lot of things going on, especially in her past, that could be triggering for some people. So please make sure you read those. But I enjoyed it. I don't mind reading about bullying, especially if it's done in a really good bullying good, no, but especially if it's done in the right way so that the characters are coming together. Angel Lawson and Samantha Rue did a good job. I think that they're very good writers, and I think that I'm actually on book 3 now of the series, and I'm really enjoying it. I believe that there's 12 books in this series, so it is quite a lengthy series, but I will continue on if this is kind of the vibe that it's going to be. Okay, then I had, for my third Kindle Unlimited pick, I had Wolves, and I picked The Witch's Daughter by Heather Carson. So what I did not realize at the time that I picked this is that this book that I picked is actually part of a larger series that I have not read. And so I started this book and was completely lost as to what was going on. I had no idea who these characters were. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know who the Packs were. I didn't know the area that they were living in. I was very confused. And so I had to go look it up, realize that I did not know anything about this world because I had not read this previous series. So I obviously immediately stopped because I don't want to jump into a series right in the middle. So I pivoted and I ended up grabbing Wolf Girl by Leah Stone. Look at my beautiful pink book. Isn't she lovely? So this is the complete series. This is an omnibus. There are actually 4 books in this series, and I have read the first 2. So we've got Wolf Girl, which was the first book, and that is the one that I read for my prompt, and I really enjoyed it. I'm on the 3rd one now, and I'm still really enjoying it. We have our female main character. She is a wolf shifter in a world where there are wolf shifters, there are vampires, there are witches, there are trolls. We have all sorts of magical and supernatural races. But the wolves need to live in packs. And so the wolves have their own wolf kind of compound, their own area that they live in. But her parents were banished before she was even born. And so they were banished. And so they do not live as part of the pack. And so they are not allowed to shift. They have restriction collars or cuffs that are put on them that make it so that they cannot shift. And so when she was born, she was also not allowed to shift. And obviously, as she's grown up, she has kind of been bullied and made fun of, and she's now in high school and has just basically spent her whole life being half of herself because she's never able to shift, doesn't know her wolf, and has just really been kind of living this kind of half sad life. And one day a wolf shifter comes to her high school as part of a security conference or thing that he has to do with the principal of the school, and she meets him and he discovers that she is a wolf but is cuffed or collared, and he doesn't think that that is appropriate and is just horrified about it. And so he pulls some strings and gets her transferred to the high school in the wolf compound. And then she discovers all these things about herself the first time she shifts and getting to know her wolf. And anyway, and that's where kind of the story takes off. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the way that Leah Stone wrote the characters. She really makes you feel sympathetic towards the female main character as she's trying to find her way in this new place and trying to get to know this other half of herself. And we do have a romance, which I also enjoyed, and trying to understand the way that mates and fated mates and that type of thing, how that works in her life now. So I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm on book 3, and I'll hopefully be able to finish the series this month of July. So okay, then for my physical TBR pulls, I have the first book in a series, and I chose The Bombshell Effect by Carla Sorensen. And so this is the first book in the Washington Wolves collection, and I really enjoyed it. It was cute. We have a football quarterback, and we have the reluctant new owner of the football team. They're neighbors, and it's kind of a enemies to lovers. They really don't get on with each other when they first meet. But forced proximity, because she's kind of the owner of the team now. Her father's passed away and she inherits it, and he's kind of the the team captain, kind of the older quarterback, and wants to lead his team and wants to only focus on the championship and making his team the best that it can, and doesn't want to be distracted by his beautiful new owner. And so they get into a lot of argument, picking each other that we know is just foreplay. And anyway, it's so cute, and I really enjoyed it. There are 2 more books in this omnibus that I will be reading, so I did enjoy it. Okay, and then the last poll that I had, my physical TBR poll, is a book you bought because of a recommendation. So the one I chose was, where is it? Oh, it's right here. Was Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. I actually got this as part of my Aardvark book box, my book subscription. And I got it because of FOMO, because everyone on the internet was talking about it. They were all recommending it. They were all saying what an amazing book that it was. And so I bought it because everyone was recommending it. And they were not wrong. This book was insane and I loved it. Oh my gosh. This is one of my 5-star reads. I gave this 5 stars. I know why everyone was talking about it now. It was so good. This is the first book I've ever read by Saratoga Schaefer. And I actually, after I got done reading this book, I actually went and read all of the rest of her books that I could find because I loved it so much. Okay, we have our female main character. She is the perfect example of a woman trying to show everyone, and by everyone I mean social media, that her life is perfect. She has married the perfect man. She wears the perfect clothes. She lives in the perfect house. She makes the sourdough. She only eats organically raised beef and chicken, and she gets only local produce. I mean, just on and on and on. She documents everything about her life on social media. She is the quintessential trad wife. And the only thing that is missing is a baby. And she knows it because everyone that she looks up to, all of the people that she follows on social media, they all have 4, 5, 7, 8 kids. And she's like, if I want to be as perfect as them, I need to have a child. That is what is missing. And so they have moved, her and her husband have moved to a new home. This is the perfect home, the perfect location. Everything about this is perfect. They've renovated it from top to bottom so it can be perfect. And she is drawn to the forest behind her home, to this old well. And for reasons that she can't explain, she makes a wish at this well. And of course, we know what her wish is. It's the whole point of this whole book. And things get unhinged from there. Honestly, the story itself is absolutely like gripping, and it's thrilling, and it's tense, and it's horrifying. Like, it's all those things. But deeper what the meaning is about this, right? This is about a woman who has been under the power and under the thumb of her father and then her husband. She's never had a voice of her own. She is trying to find an identity through social media. And she's letting these women, these trad wife women, she thinks that that's where she's going to find her voice and her identity. If I can only be just like them, then I will be accepted and I will be part of their group, and I will fit in and I will belong. But you can see the further and further we get into her story, you can see it just all keeps falling apart, and the mask, it just keeps cracking and chipping and falling because it's all fake. There's nothing real about it until finally all that's left at the end, it's just her. And So by the time we get to the end of the book, it's just her deciding if who she really is after this complete, caterpillar to a butterfly transformation that she's gone through, if this is who she wants to be. Can she accept herself for who she has become through this process of kind of this social media breakdown? But the whole thing was just wrapped up in this horrifying horror thriller book. I absolutely loved it. This was 5 stars for me, and I can see what everybody is talking about with this. This was great. Okay, I had 3 other books that I DNF'd this month. The first one is No Higher Ground by Nicole Brooks. I got this as an ARC from NetGalley, and I started reading it and immediately knew that I probably wasn't going to be able to get through this. So this is about a woman and her children, and they are in the middle of this flood, this major natural disaster. At the very beginning, when we start out, we have this woman and her children, and they are racing to get to her mother's house to try and rescue her mother before the floodwaters get any higher. Because the way that it's explained in this book is that her mother, who lives out on a farm kind of in the middle of nowhere, is very stubborn. And immediately, the first thing in my mind is, why is your mother so stupid? And the second thing is, why did you bring your children? Are you stupid? Like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, first of all, your decision to bring your children is absolutely ludicrous. Why would you do that? It's to the farmhouse, and her mother is there, and her mother is packing up every picture frame, every salt and pepper shaker, every apron, literally every stupid thing you could think of. She's putting it all in trunks and bags and boxes, and she's trying to load it all up into the back of her pickup truck. I mean, at least she's not, stubbornly saying she's not going to leave, but she's decided that she's taking every little thing out of this farmhouse that mean nothing, and she will not leave until she has everything that she wants out of this farmhouse. So her daughter is sitting there saying, Mom, we gotta go. The waters are they're wading through thigh deep water at this point. Mom, we gotta go. It's not safe. I've got the kids in my truck. Her mom doesn't care. You guys, I couldn't. I was like, every single little decision in the first chapter of this book, I was so upset. I was so livid. I was like, I can't even, if you're going to be making these kind of decisions throughout this whole book, I can't. You're going to give me heart palpitations. I can't. So I had to stop. The second one I had was Voracious by Lee Rivers. This is the Edge of Darkness book 2. You may remember I read book 1 for my May reading wrap up. And if you will also remember, that book literally reached in and scooped out my heart and stomped on it and then rolled it up and sliced it into pieces and then spit on. I was so emotionally wrecked after I read that book. I mean, I can't even. That was another book recommendation by my bestest book friend, Justine. And she said, you have to read this. This is like my number 1 book series. I love it so much. And I'm questioning our friendship. I'm like, how can you read this and still be intact emotionally? Because I can't. And I even told her, because she was on my ass about reading the second and third book. And I was like, Justine, I gotta recuperate. Like, I gotta reset myself. Like, this was so hard to read. And she's like, no, you gotta read book 2. So I started book 2, Voracious, for her. It's too soon. I knew I wasn't emotionally ready. I gave into peer pressure and I couldn't finish it. It was too, I would have ended up in an institution for depression. My heart just couldn't take it. I still had not recovered my heart. I wasn't ready. I wasn't emotionally ready. It was too soon. So I had to DNF it. I was like at 58% or something like that. And it was too much. It was too much. I'm sorry to say I was weak. And I couldn't finish it because it emotionally drained me. I couldn't do it. Anyway, if you know anything about the Edge of Darkness series, and I feel like if you guys follow what is it, My Bored Husband or The Bored Husband or something like that on Instagram. He said it best. If you want like emotional damage with a side of emotional damage, followed by emotional damage, and then with a sprinkling of emotional damage, then you should read this book. Because yes, my dude, that's exactly what these books are. So anyway, yeah, did not finish that. I'll probably go back to it at some point because, I mean, it needs to be read. It does. I think if our friendship is going to survive, I'm obviously going to have to read these books. I couldn't do it right now. I'm sorry, Justine. And then the last book that I DNF'd this month was Good for Her by, is it Paige Tyler or Tyler Page? Tyler Page. I'm going to put a picture of it right here. So again, I think I got about 55% of the way through this book, and then I had to stop because it was making me so angry. This is supposedly this is a book about female rage, female revenge. It's about our female main character when she was a young girl. Her mother was a star of these horror movies in Hollywood and was murdered horribly, gruesomely, when she was very young. And then when she grows up, she is back in Hollywood to take her revenge and vengeance upon the men who killed her mother. I love me some female rage. I love me some female revenge, vengeance stories, love it all. It's one of my favorite tropes. I love it. I don't know that that's what this was. We also understand the relationship between her and her best friend growing up on the Hollywood sets and the sound stages, and they were in this kind of child star kind of arena, but they weren't in front of the camera. Her mom was the star, but she was still part of that kind of community of people growing up, and so was her best friend. And so when she comes back to Hollywood now grown up, her best friend is now a star in his own right. He's actually continued these horror movies that her mom started back in the day. He's continued these horror movies and has become a top-notch Hollywood leading man. Comes back to Hollywood. He's very excited. He can't wait to see her again, but she doesn't want anything to do with him. She's focused. She's there to do one thing and one thing only, and that is her vengeance. And I'm like, okay, great. Okay, fantastic. I love the premise of this. I love the plot of this. But it kind of gets lost for me because her best friend, this Hollywood leading man, kind of gets embroiled in her vengeance and in her revenge. And he's like, I want to help you. Whatever it takes to be with you. I want to help you. I know these people. I know how to get you close to these people. Let me help. Let me use my connections. And so she says yes, like, don't talk to me. She's constantly like, we can't be, this, that, and the other. And she like has no gratitude. She has like no thank you for, helping me. But every single time he gets her close to one of her targets, she can't do it. There's always something. She freaks out. She falls in a pool. She ends up doing drugs and is out of her mind. And so he ends up always doing the killing for her. Spoiler alert. And then she just has nothing, no gratitude, no nothing. She's just mad. She's just like, I don't want to see you anymore. I need to do this on my own. And this is for my mom. And and it was just so, I'm like, okay, for a female vengeance story, for real female rage, like you need to like prepare, you need to spend that time while you're away. You need to research your targets. You need to prepare. You need to like train with a gun. You need to like become a badass. You need to like there's steps you need to take for female rage and vengeance, right? This is how all books go. She did none of that. She's completely inept, doesn't know how to handle a firearm, doesn't know anything about self-defense. He has to step in and save her every single time. Now, I don't know if this is just some plot device in order to get them together, because I just don't know why. But it's really freaking irritating. I wanted female rage and vengeance, and she was completely inept. I hated it. So I had to stop. I couldn't do it. So yeah, I stopped reading that. Like I said, I think it was at 56% or something like that, and I DNF'd it because she was making me angry. Anyway, those were my DNFs. Let's move on. Okay, the next one we have is Black Rose. This is the second book to Blood Orange by Karina Halle. This is the Dracula retelling, and I have to say I enjoyed Blood Orange more than I enjoyed Black Rose. However, I did enjoy the duet as a whole. I thought it was a really good Dracula retelling. I listened to this on audio, which I do recommend. It is a dual narration, and the narrator who does Valtu does an excellent job. He's really got that kind of Dracula type vibes that I think really helps the story. But yeah, this is a Dracula retelling, and so it's about reincarnation, past lives, but we have Dracula that's living through it all because he never dies, and about his lost loves, Mina and Lucy, and about love, I guess, reincarnated and never dies. And at the end of Black Rose, they finally find their happy ending, and so that was nice to see, and I enjoyed it. It was a good duology, and I do recommend it if you like that type of fantasy, Dracula, dark romantasy type books. Then that was a good one. Next we have Axe to Grind by M.T. Adams. This is Gnarly Pines Book 1. So this is kind of a dark romance meets lumberjacks, which yeah, I don't know. Anyway. I actually didn't mind this book. It had really good spice in it. It had a pretty good plot. Father, who has never been a part of her life, kind of rescues her from her mom and her mom's boyfriend, who are not very nice people and have kind of been abusing her. And so her father steps in. Her father is a, we'll just call him a very classified person who goes and has contracts and is very underworld type person. And he is so paranoid because of the work that he does and because of who he is that she has grown up all of these really crazy like military tactics type of, that is how she grew up because that's how her father is. And her father's best friend is the owner of this logging company, but he also is part of the military, and they do contracts together sometimes. And so from the time she was small, she has known her father's best friend. And so when now she's grown up, and one of her father's enemies has found her and is trying to lure her father out of hiding. And so she is on the run, and she goes to her father's best friend to try and evade the people that are after her, and that is kind of the premise of this story. So she's hiding out, and the owners, there are 3 of them, the owners of this logging company are these lumberjack men, and they are trying to help her evade capture and help her kind of protect her and keep her father safe. And anyway, the dark romance kind of comes in at that point. So anyway, it was good. This is part of a series, so I know that there is another book coming out, at least one, I think maybe 2. Yeah, so I will continue on with the series. I thought that it was good. Love You to Pieces by A.J. Merlin. So you guys know that I love A.J. Merlin. She is one of my favorite authors. So we have our female main character. She is on a road trip on her way to a concert with some of her friends, and their car breaks down, and what they think is a good Samaritan pulls over, asks if they can help, and the next thing she knows, she is waking up in a basement, chained, tied up, and there are screams coming from beyond her locked door. And it just gets more unhinged, more gory, more horrifying, more awful from there. This is not a story for the weak of heart or the weak of stomach, so please check your trigger warnings before reading this. There is a romance. Again, A.J. Merlin is kind of the queen of horror erotica. And so, yes, there is a romance in this. But yeah, there's definitely some trigger warnings. You're definitely going to want to go into this with your eyes wide open, because this one is wackadoodle. This one is like the craziest one I think that she's written to date. So that's Love You to Pieces by A.J. Merlin. The Score by Ellie Kennedy. This is book 3 in the Off-Campus series. As you know, I've been kind of making my way through this because it came out on Prime Video, and I wanted to be ready when it came out, so I read the deal, and then I read The Mistake, and then I got finished with The Score. Love it. Again, this is a reread for me because I've already read this series, and it's just as good the second time you read it. It's so cute. It's a hockey romance. There is some good spice in this. It's a really fun series. If you haven't watched the one on Prime Video, go check it out. I think I think it's good. It doesn't necessarily follow the books, but I think for what it is, I think they did a good job. And I would definitely recommend the books by Ellie Kennedy. They are excellent. As I said before with Tradwife, as soon as I read that book and got done with it, I read the rest of Saratoga Schaefer's books. So I read The Last Time We Drowned. So this one is about a woman who is a social media influencer, and she is invited aboard a yacht to basically like join forces. So she is going to be promoting the yacht on her social media account, and then the other social media influencers that live on the yacht are going to be promoting her account, and it just kind of this circular thing where everybody's kind of promoting everybody so that it grows their channels, and they just kind of cross post everything. And it's an opportunity for her to not only grow her channel, but to make money because she's kind of down on her luck, and things have happened in her past that she's trying to kind of recover from and get over the kind of trauma in her past. So this is kind of a new, fresh start for her. But as soon as she gets aboard the boat, like weird things start happening. And I will tell you that there may or may not be I can't tell you for sure. Like, I read this book all the way through and I really enjoyed it. It was very thrilling. At times it was almost a horror novel, but I still can't tell you if there was an actual supernatural element to this book or if it was all just in her head. If she was just having like hallucinations, if she was just having a mental breakdown and was just seeing things, I still couldn't tell you, which I guess is the kind of beauty of the writing of the author, in that I still don't know. But it was a crazy ride. There is murder happening on this yacht. There is also a hurricane. There's also a hurricane happening. These two things collide together. There's no power. There's no way to get off the boat. Nobody knows that they're stranded, so the Coast Guard isn't coming. And then everyone is a suspect on board this yacht. And so it honestly, it really, and again, because this is Saratoga Schaefer, and so you know that there's a deeper meaning here, it really shows what lengths people will go to project this image to social media and to put forth this perfect mask to the masses, and how that kind of can mess with your mind, and how the image can distort your reality. It was a very thrilling ride. It was crazy. I still don't know if it's supernatural or not, but that was The Last Time We Drowned. Then I read Serial Killers Support Group, again by Saratoga Schaefer. So our female main character's sister has been murdered, and she is determined to find the killer. So she goes kind of on the dark web. She kind of goes down deep into these rabbit holes, and she finds a serial killer support group where the serial killers go to kind of talk to each other, I guess, about like MOs and how they can like get away from police and not get caught, and I don't know, a support group, I guess, for serial killers. So she ends up finagling her way into the support group because she's just sure that the one who killed her sister is in this group. And you get a sense right from the beginning that she is not, like, she doesn't have a good sense of societal norms. Like, she doesn't understand relationships very well. She doesn't like react the way that you think that she should. And this is all kind of building up throughout the book, because by the end you understand that she herself is a sociopath, and she herself should be, and could, if circumstances were different, be one of them. And so she's on a journey for vengeance, and we get to know each one of these serial killers in the support group. And so it's a very interesting look at how serial killers are made, what they go through in their childhood, what they don't go through in their childhood, when their childhood is absolutely perfect and there's nothing that triggers a trauma, and that's just the way they are. And so it's a very interesting look at the dynamics of a serial killer, nurtured versus nature. Do you see what I'm saying? But at the end, we see that it's kind of just been building up to her being one of them, and it's the trauma of losing her sister and her sister being murdered that has kind of pushed her over this boundary, or this ledge. It was very interesting. I did not enjoy that one as much as I enjoyed Tradwife. Tradwife, I think, is her best one out of the 3 that I read, and I didn't enjoy it as much as The Last Time We Drowned, but I still found it to be thrilling. I found it to be a good page turner, and a very interesting look at the different dynamics about serial killers. So next we have The Housewife by Natalie Borelli. This was an ARC that I received off of NetGalley. All I can say about this book, honestly, is that everyone in this book is absolutely cray-cray. Crazy. We have our female main character, and she is married to this doctor. He seems to be very loving, very lovely. Everyone seems to hold him in very high regard. He seems to be very well known and well respected in the community. And so she understands that she kind of has a role to play as a housewife. And so she makes sure that her house is always lovely, the linens are always pressed, the food is always perfect and chef worthy. And so she she steps into the role as this housewife very well, because she understands what role she's trying to play here in this community. She is his second wife. His first wife died in a suspicious manner. And anyway, as this crazy, wild book goes on, we understand that there may have been some sort of connection between the first wife and our second wife, and that things are not what they seem to be on the surface of this marriage or in this community, because as I said, everyone is crazy. And the end of this book was absolutely unhinged and crazy, and I don't even know what else to say. It was just wild. Like the twist wasn't really a twist. Like I kind of knew what it was, and like the who done it. Like I kind of knew what was going on, but at the same time, it was absolute insanity. Like I was like, okay, that's a very unhinged way to kind of wrap that up. Anyway, everyone's crazy in this book. The whole thing is kind of unhinged, but yeah, it was good. It was a good thriller, good tension. So yeah, next we have Just Breaking the Rules by Lauren Blakely. This is a hockey romance. I just kind of needed a little sunshiny romance. So I decided to pick this one up. This is the first in her Hockey Ever After series. The second book, I believe, just came out a couple of weeks ago. So I need to go and pick that one up so I can read it, because I really enjoyed this one. So we have our female, and she is humiliated on a baking show. And so she's kind of a train wreck. She's kind of a mess and doesn't really know what she's doing or where she's going in her life. Then we have our male main character, who is on the hockey team. And he's very OCD. He's very organized. He has a lot of lists. He has a lot of calendars. He's a single dad, and so he's very rigid, very organized in his life. And his mom was a baker, and so she taught him everything she knew before she passed. And so one of his dreams after he retired from hockey was to open a bakery. The owner of the hockey team is our female main character's brother. And he decides to put the two of them together. She's a baker. He wants to open a bakery, and he has lots of money because he's on the hockey team. He decides to put them together, and they open a bakery together. This is a little bit of forced proximity, a little bit of my brother's best friend trope. They definitely have chemistry. They definitely they're feeling things. They have feelings, but neither one of them want to kind of step over that line, because her brother is his manager, and so they don't want to kind of mess up that relationship. And so there's kind of a lot of sneaking around and a lot of things going on behind people's back, and a lot of forced proximity because they own a bakery together. Anyway, I thought it was good. It was sweet. It was very cute. It was a very good romance. It did have good spice in it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the second book. So, all right, next we have The Scent of Crazy by D.A. Valerian. This is another ARC that I received from the author. This book was crazy. Honestly, it was a little bit confusing, I have to be honest, because I thought reading this book that I had missed a book. Do you know what I mean? Like the author was writing this book as if I was, as the reader, was supposed to know kind of who these characters were, and like I had missed a book previously, like, but I hadn't. Like, this is the first book in a series, and so I hadn't missed a book anywhere, but I still felt like I was behind the 8 ball on this, like I was missing context, I guess, somewhere. But as you know, you kind of get into it, and as you kind of start to learn about these characters, it becomes easier to you know, understand them and what's been going on, etc., etc. And so I didn't feel as confused as at the beginning. But the way that this author writes, I think she just kind of writes that way. Like she makes it feel like you should know more about these characters than you actually do. And I think that's just the writing style. Anyway, we have our female main character. She is a female with some vengeance that needs to happen here. That finally, right? I wanted it, I needed it, and here is the book that I needed. We have some female rage going on, and she needs to take her revenge. And her family, she was very close to her family. She had a twin, and they were all murdered horribly. She was the only survivor. So we have a final girl, but then she's also on this revenge path to avenge her family. And to do that, she has to go through our male main character in order to get to who she needs to get to. And so she plays him, she pretends to be someone she's not, and she you know, kind of makes him fall in love with her so that she can get to who she needs to get to. And he himself is absolutely crazy and unhinged. So they're both like made for each other. The more crazy he is, the crazier she is. And so at the beginning, she's kind of trying to be this nice, sweet, you know, kind of trying to play into that, you know, sweet, innocent girl type thing. But the more she realizes how unhinged she is, the more she's like, oh, okay, I guess I can be more myself. And they kind of play off of each other. Anyway, at the end, you know, we kind of have this big major blow up, you know, this climactic ending where everything comes out in the open. It all kind of comes together with, you know, this big explosion, so to speak. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was definitely crazy. It was definitely unhinged. It got a little bit kind of bloody and gory in a few places, so you may want to check that before you read it. But I did enjoy it. So I believe this is the first in the series, and so we'll have to see when the second book comes out. Okay, next we have Perfect Life by Meredith Lavender. So this is actually the second book, but not really. It's a standalone, but it has a book before it, which I didn't read. And so I was a little bit hesitant to start this book thinking, oh shoot, I'm going to be lost. You know, I haven't read this first book, and so I'm not really going to understand what's going on, but that was happily not the case. So we have our female main character, and she has a past that she is kind of trying to run from. So she's gone from California to Florida, and her husband have settled in this beautiful community, in this beautiful home on the ocean. I mean, they're part of this country club. They have money. He sold his tech startup, and they're swimming in money, and it's the perfect life, right? Until her past catches up with her. Now there is a dead body. People from her past keep showing up. Her husband is being secretive and kind of doing things behind her back. Everybody in this community is a suspect because everybody is acting way sus, and she's not sure who she can trust, who she can't. People keep showing up that shouldn't be there. And anyway, it's the classic kind of whodunit. The author makes everybody a suspect, and we kind of go back and forth between her past, like flashbacks of her past, and then to present, so we can kind of understand what's going on and what she's running from, which was really good because it gave us a lot of context about what was happening in the present. I would not have seen the whodunit at the end. That came out of absolutely left field. I had no idea like where that came from. So there's that. Anyway, that was Perfect Life by Meredith Lavender. Okay, next we have Old Ham by Serafina Novaglass. So this is another ARC that I received off of NetGalley. I don't even know what to say about this book. This book, this book scared the living heck out of me. So this is an excellent book that really makes you sit down and ask yourself, who is the monster here? We have Janie. Janie is different. She does not understand social cues. She does not understand normal relationships. She does not really have a moral compass. Like, she doesn't really understand right and wrong. And it's not, she goes through life just kind of doing what makes her happy and just kind of living in this reality that is not real. She sees things how she wants to see them and doesn't understand that that is not reality. And it's not Janie's fault. And so we do feel pity and sympathy for her, because when she was a teen, she was bullied mercilessly, as you can imagine. And she was tormented by this group of teens, and one night there was a bonfire, and they rowed her out into the middle of the river on an island, and the island flooded, and she was swept downriver and drowned, and it caused a lot of brain damage to poor Janie. So this is not all her fault. However, this book is about Janie. She finds herself in a position where one of the teen boys that tormented her is now all grown up, has a wife and a daughter, and the wife is looking for a math tutor for her daughter. And this opens up the possibilities for Janie. Now, Janie, in her mind, is thinking to herself, I just want an apology for what they did to me when I was a teen. However, things don't quite go that way. Every time something happens that in a normal societal circumstance, right, you would be freaked out if you recognize someone from your past in your home that had lied to your wife, right? Normal, moral, societal, right? Anyone would be freaked out. Janie sees that a little bit differently. And so she reacts a little bit differently, and not in a good way. And so that's what freaks me out. This is a person who will come after you, will hurt your children, because she doesn't care. She doesn't see children as any different than anybody else. If she thinks you have wronged her, even if you didn't, because she doesn't understand. So that is like my worst fear. But this teen, who is now grown up into an absolute douche canoe of a man, he is absolutely determined to take no responsibility for what happened. He's determined to belittle and diminish Janie at every turn. He won't apologize. It's not his fault. He didn't do anything wrong. So who is the monster? Is it him? Is it Janie? It's so interesting because you keep going back and forth, because he's a horrible human being. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's a terrible human. But so is she. I mean, the things that she's doing they're not right. They're not good. And there's no right or wrong or boundaries for Janie. She doesn't understand boundaries. She doesn't care. And so she does things that, I mean, like endangering kids, and you're like, but it's a child. But she doesn't see it that way. But again, is that her fault, or is that just how she is because he made her that way? Do you see what I'm saying? Like the whole time you're just like going back and forth. Like, I just don't know how to feel about this. All I can tell you is that this book was absolutely crazy. It's a very short book. It's almost a novella. It's a very easy read. I read it in one sitting. Freaked me the heck out. Just scared the crap out of me. And it left you on a major cliffhanger. So that's all I'm going to say about that book. Okay, next we have Killer on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones. So this is actually a double book. And I'm actually reading Babysitter Lives right now, but I did finish Killer on the Road. This was such an interesting book. So Stephen Graham Jones, I believe, has Indian heritage in his blood, because he writes a lot of Indian books and Indian kind of lore and folklore and kind of cultural things of that nature. And this one was no different. So we have our female main character, and she got in a fight with her mom, and so she is hitchhiking, and yeah, so she's out on the road. She's out on the freeway, and she meets the legend of Bucketmouth. Bucketmouth being this kind of ghost story, I guess, something you would tell around the campfire, some scary stories that you would tell while on a road trip, a long road trip on the freeway in the middle of nowhere. And he eats parts of his victims, and then becomes them. So he could eat your finger, and then he would become you, or your ear, or something. He gobbles up your flesh, and then he becomes you. And so she meets Bucketmouth, him, on this desolate freeway. And it's, when I read the kind of afterword of this story, the author says that this was kind of an homage to I-80 in Montana that is it's just ripe for this kind of lore and this type of legend, because it will literally suck the life out of you. I've been on that road, okay? I know that road. And it's very true. It literally is in the middle of absolute nothing. There's no services for stretches and miles of road. It is prime real estate for killers and ghosts and flesh-eating, legends to take up residence on this road. So anyway, our female main character, ends up in kind of this road showdown between Bucketmouth, kind of this back and forth, good versus evil kind of showdown on the road between her and this kind of lore, this legend of Bucketmouth. And anyway, it was very interesting. It was very cool. He writes very lyrically. It's a very different style than a lot of the authors that I am used to. And so you kind of have to get used to it. You kind of have to get used to the rhythm that he writes in. But once you do, he's a very good author, and I do enjoy reading him. So. Okay, just a couple more. We have Night Witch by Jamin Eve. This is the second book in the Weatherstone College duet. The first one was Spellcaster, and then this one, Night Witch. I absolutely loved this book. This was great. I read Spellcaster. I love this one. This is absolutely great. I read Spellcaster. I really enjoyed it. Our female main character is a witch. She's just coming into her powers, just kind of blooming into her powers. She's at that age, 18. And so she is going off to this witch college where she can kind of come into her powers and learn what that means. Her family has been in a blood feud with this other family. And their son also comes to this college at the same time that she does. And the first book was all about her having to avoid him because her family thought that he was there to kill her because of this blood feud. So they're avoiding each other. She's trying to avoid him, and he keeps kind of showing up wherever she is, and somebody is trying to kill her in this first book. And we never know why. We don't know what's going on. It's very mysterious. She thinks it's him, and yet he always seems to be around to protect her and to save her. So the second book, we now kind of understand her power, what she is. She is a night witch. That's the name of the book. And we also understand him a little bit better. And we understand that as children, they were best friends before this blood feud. And I absolutely loved this book because there was no more enemies to lovers trope going on. There was no more pretending. There was no more back and forth. There was no more miscommunication. There was none of that. They knew exactly who they were. They knew exactly who they were to each other. And there was nothing tearing them apart. They were together. They knew it. They had each other's backs, and nothing was going to come between them. And that was just that. And so everything, like the world was imploding all around them. We have you know, all this political intrigue. We have, you know, the council is doing this, and she's a night witch, but they're not supposed to exist, and all these powers, you know, she's coming into, and her family, and all these things are going on around them, but they exist, they stand together. And I cannot tell you the last time I read a book where that was like a trope, where that was like a thing. Like there was no push and pull, back and forth, miscommunication. Well, you did that. Well, you said that. Well, I saw you with somebody else. Well, blah, 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 blah. Like none of that. Like it was, nothing could tear them apart. It was so refreshing. I loved it. It was fast paced. It was a page turner. I think I read it in 2 days. It was very quick. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it was great. Campus Secret by Cadence Keys. This was an ARC that I received from the author. This is the 3rd book in her, CFU hockey series. And I enjoyed the heck out of this book. These are such cute hockey romances, just like her other 2 books. They're cute, they're sweet, now I will say that this particular book, this 3rd book, had a lot of spice in it. This was a very spicy book, but I loved that. I thought it was great. Our female main character has been dumped by her jerk of a boyfriend. Her brother's best friend, who's also on the hockey team with her brother, finds out about this and is just absolutely livid about it. They've known each other since they were kids, and he's always felt very protective over her. And he has decided that enough is enough. He's had it. He's over it. No one can treat her this way anymore. And so he is going to ensure that she understands how awesome she is, how beautiful she is, how amazing she is, and he's going to be the one to do it. And of course, because he is the brother's best friend, this all has to be done in secret. And so this is definitely brother's best friend trope. Everything is done behind closed doors. It is very secret. It is very, like, they're lying to everybody. You need to have read the first 2 books in this series to understand what's going on in this one. So this is not a standalone, but it was really good. Great hockey romance, good spice. Excellent. I've loved all of her books so far. So, okay, now let's get into my 5-star reads. I had 5 of them, which is crazy. I cannot even believe I had that many 5-star reads. So let's start with my first one, which is the very first book that I read for June. And I think the reason I gave this one 5 stars is because it pulled me out of a reading slump. It's pulled me right out. And look, I had 23 books this month. It sucked me right out of it. This is The Kindest Secret, Pineapple Island Swingers Resort by Jade Dollitson. This book is so funny. I laughed out loud so much when I was reading this book. This book is hysterical. Oh my gosh. I mean, as its name implies, we have our female main character. She's a writer and she's looking for inspiration. She is trying to breathe some life into her next novel. So she decides to book a 3-week vacation at this resort. She's a little clumsy, she's a little naive, she's absolutely adorable, and she does not understand that she is booking a vacation at a swingers resort. Oh, she's just so cute. Anyway, then we have our male main character. He is a hockey player. Everybody knows him, everybody loves him. He is a public persona, he is loved by all. He had a very public breakup with his now ex-fiance. And his teammates persuade him to take the honeymoon that they were supposed to go on alone. And just so that you know how totally awful his ex-fiance was, they were supposed to go on a honeymoon to a swingers resort. That's how awful she was. So he decides he's going to do that just to get away from the public eye a little bit, because obviously, you know, everyone wants to talk about it. So that is where these 2 meet and sparks fly, and it's so cute. It's so funny. I loved every minute of this. This was 5 stars. This is my first 5-star read of the month. This was my first read of the month, and this thing sucked me right out of my reading slump, and away I went for the rest of the month. This was so good. My next 5-star read is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona. Ooh, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Ilona Andrews. Excuse me. I have not read anything by this duo of authors before, so this was my first one, and I did not know what to expect when I picked up this book. I got this as part of my Book of the Month subscription, And I was so pleasantly surprised. I had no idea I was going to love this book as much as I did, but I absolutely loved it. So we have our female main character. This is one of those tropes where she wakes up and finds herself in her favorite fiction fantasy novel, and she is going to do all that she can to make sure that her favorite fantasy turns out the way that she thinks that it should have been written, if you get what I mean. This book is so tropey, but it is so full of such good. This book is full of political intrigue, of players on a chessboard that she's desperately trying to move around, and just you're trying to keep track of everybody, and there's so much going on and so many things. If you love the type of book where like the authors are kind of giving you a string and a string and a string and a string, and you're gathering up kind of all these little tidbits of information and trying to keep track of all of them, and then the author takes you and pulls you to a point where she pulls all these strings into a nice little bow, and just it all comes together. This book is chock full of that. I loved it. We also have quite the slow burn romance going on in this I also loved the heck out of. This duo writes slow burn romance so well. The tension, the looks, it was so good. Like literally nothing happened. And I was so invested in these two. I can't even tell you. I'm so on the edge of my seat for the next book to come out in this series. I cannot wait. We got left on such a cliffhanger in this book. You can tell I'm like totally passionate about this, but I loved this book. This was so good. I was so pleasantly surprised. This was a 5-star read for me. I highly recommend. Okay, my next 5-star read is A Parade of Horribles by Matt Dinniman. You guys know I listen to the Dungeon Crawler Carl series on audio. Jeff Hayes is a master at narration. There is no other way to consume these novels than to do it on audio, and this one was no different. We're still following Carl and Princess Donut in their forays in the dungeon. We are on a couple of levels in this book. I just think Matt Dinniman is so creative. Again, I am not a lit RPG girl. I just am not. But these books are fantastic, and I think a lot of that has to do with the entertainment value that comes from the narration and the audiobook. Sound Booth does a fantastic job at the narration of this. So yeah, I'm still on this bandwagon. I'm still on this train. I've given every single one of these 5 stars. I do feel like it has a lot to do with the narration because it is so good. But yeah, I can't wait till the next one comes out. And then my last 5-star read for June, I cannot believe I had so many, was Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. So there's actually a funny story behind this. So I was in Books A Million. If you guys have been watching me, you know that we just got a Books A Million in my town. I was so excited. I've been there multiple times to the detriment of my budget. But I was in there one day just browsing some books, and there was a group of ladies that was I was kind of searching along the wall, and they were kind of in the little stack cubby behind me. And they were talking about Shield of Sparrows. And they were just extolling the praises of Shield of Sparrows. They could not stop talking about how good it was. They were just going on and on and on about it was the most amazing romantasy that they had ever read. The world building was fantastic. Oh my gosh, I've never read. Oh my gosh, my book boyfriend of all time. I love him so much. I mean, they were just going on and on and on, right? And I was like, I have never heard of this book. Like, where have I been? So I came home and I looked it up on Amazon, and I decided I was going to go ahead and grab it. So I did, and I am so glad that I did because it really was fantastic. So good. They were not lying. The world building in this book is stellar. Definitely a fantasy. We have so much creative genius. We have monsters, we have magic, we have world building. I mean, there's so much going on in this book fantasy wise. I love it. It's so fun. Then we have the romance between our female main character and our male main character. It is fantastic. This is definitely an enemies to lovers. We have a bit of a slow burn, kind of about 2/3 of the way through, and then it gets really good. We also have, it's very much a mystery, like her origins, her magic, kind of what she is, we still don't know. Like at the end of this book, we are left very much on a cliffhanger. We have no idea really what she is, what her magic is, who she is. So we're still trying to figure that out. The second book, I believe, is out, so I need to get started on that one. But I was so impressed by this book. I gave it 5 stars. I was enthralled by this book. I think I read it in like a day and a half or something. I loved it. It was great. Very creative. Enjoyed the heck out of it. Thank you, ladies, whoever you were in Books A Million. I eavesdropped on y'all. You're kind of talking loud. But anyway, I heard ya, and I am glad that I read Shield of Sparrows. So hey, that was all my books. 23 books in June. I feel like I am out of my reading slump, you guys. I did so good for the month of June. And I had 5 5-star reads. I am beside myself. I'm so happy. Hopefully July will be just as good. Just a reminder, I am not doing a TBR jar poll for July because I will be at Camp Summerween doing my reading challenge. I am going to be putting out a video, I think it's the end of this week, with my Camp Summerween reading choices, kind of my stack of what I'm going to be reading, my TBR stack for Camp Summerween. Just a reminder that you can join my challenge if you want to. I will link the video that I have for Camp Summerween in the description below. I would love it if you would come join us. It's going to be so much fun. I am so excited about it. We are going to have a reading vlog. We're going to have treats and drinks and all sorts of things for Camp Summerween. So I am so looking forward to it. Until then, you guys, happy reading. Bye.